So the biggest myth on why Trump won is the Electoral College. Well, Hillary won the popular vote. She should be president. That would be like me saying my Super Bowl team would have won. My team would have won the Super Bowl if we counted yards gained rather than points scored. If that was the case, then the coaches would play in the game a lot differently. Okay, you see, Hillary outspent Trump 5-1. This was the biggest disparity in any election for president in the history of our country. She just outspent him like crazy. So for every one ad that he had on about making America great, she had 50 ads calling him a rapist, misogynist, pig. So for him to break through that noise, he actually had to see the people in person. So he was going into the states that he had to win the Electoral College and doing 3-4 events a day, while Hillary was only doing 3-4 events a week because she had all that money, from all the super donors. Okay, so that's a myth. I mean, if it was the popular vote that counted, Trump would have spent a lot of time in California. He didn't step one foot in California. He would have spent a lot of time in Texas. He didn't step one foot in Texas because these are the two most populated states. He was going for the win. He knew he had to win the Midwest, so that's where he spent a lot of time. Myth number 2, the racist scumbag KKK and white supremacists elected him. If these dirtbags had that much power, they would have stopped Barack Obama twice. Because I would imagine that these low-life racist KKK guys were more motivated to stop us from having a black president than they were to elect a liberal guy from New York. Okay, so I don't think their power is as great as everybody said. And there's racists on both sides. I mean, the Democrats have the Black Panthers and Nation of Islam, so it's kind of a wash on racism. But either side, the percentage is so little, it doesn't make a difference. The people that elected Trump were the people in the Midwest. And these were the same people that elected Barack Obama, Barack Hussein Obama. Okay, these aren't racist people. These were people that for the last 15 to 20 years seen their wages go down, their house values go down, and jobs leaving. So President Obama comes in, talking about, we're not a red state, we're not a blue state, we're the purple states, we're the United States. Let's compromise, let's work together, let's get things done. And so these white people in the Midwest are like, yeah, this is how we're going to get things done. But instead, President Obama comes in and he just started writing executive orders. He wouldn't work with the Republicans. He forces Obamacare through, doing backroom deals with all the Democrats. And they passed this major legislation that changes everybody's life without one Republican vote. So he wasn't this compromising purple state guy that he pretended to be with his political rhetoric that he talked about. And then the change they wanted was more jobs and opportunities, bring back the jobs. But the change he was given was more handouts and socialism. These people didn't vote for handouts, they voted for jobs. So he started changing our nation. The change he was changing was making us more like a European socialist country. And some people think that's good, but the people in the Midwest, these are hardworking people. They want jobs, they don't want handouts. So they were pretty disappointed. But they still felt like he was a sincere, honest man. And they gave him a second chance, and we got more of the same. There was no change. It was just more of the same. So this election was for Hillary, who was going to give us more of the same, but she wasn't a decent, nice person like President Obama. She was the most corrupt politician we ever seen in American history. Or a man that was crass and spoke and said crazy things, but he was successful in his business, and he was an outsider. He had no political ties. He was getting no money from any donors. Even the Koch brothers wouldn't give him a penny. In fact, 90% of George Bush's donors and 90% of Jeb Bush's donors donated to Hillary Clinton this time. So here you had a man, his average donation was $18. He had more single donations than Bernie Sanders, which Bernie Sanders had set a record, and he broke Bernie Sanders' record. Okay? So he's not beholden to all the special interests. Hillary's got all the special interests that the Democrats usually have, Wall Street and the big banks, plus all the special interests that the Republicans had. She has all the special interests money. She had a ton of money. Like I said, Trump would make one ad, Make America Great, and she'd have 50 ads making him look like a child rapist, KKK Grand Wizard or something. And most of the people that voted for him were older, mature. They'd been through a few elections, and they knew this was just hyperbole. This was just rhetoric, the way he talked. And afterwards, everybody was going to shake hands, and they did. Hillary had complimentary words about him. He had nice things to say about Hillary. President Obama had nice things to say about him. He had nice things to say about President Obama. We've seen this election after election. They make each other look like the devil, and then afterwards they're like, well, he's a pretty good guy. He's just our opponent. That's the American way. You fight as hard as you can, just like in the UFC. These guys pound each other's faces for 25 minutes, and then they hug and kiss and raise each other's hands. America is not full of sore losers. It seems like it with all these sore losers on TV, but the majority of Americans aren't sore losers. You know what I did? I voted for McCain. I voted for Romney. But after each election, you know what I did? I went to work the next morning, just like most Americans do. Okay? My guy didn't win. I'm not going to, be a sore loser about it. So the reason Trump won is because the Midwest, the swing states, Wisconsin, Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, the states that gave it to him, want to change. It's as simple as that. Did they vote because they wanted a wall to keep Mexicans out because they hate Mexicans? No, there's already a wall. Hillary Clinton and the Democrats voted for that wall years ago. Look it up. They just haven't finished it. Like everything else in Washington, D.C., we spend a ton of money and never get anything done. All Trump is saying, we'll finish the wall. Not to keep Mexicans out, but to keep terrorists out and to keep drug dealers out. We're a nation of immigrants. Trump is married to an immigrant. We're not anti-immigrant. We just want to know who's coming in, especially when you have millions of people saying they want to blow us up and kill us. We want to know who's coming in. That's all, simple as that. So, and then all his rhetoric and tough talk, again, mature Americans knew this is just political talk. You hear it on both sides, So that's all it came down to. Americans wanting change, and we'll give him a chance. And if he blows it, we'll vote him out. Doesn't matter if he's white, black, a male, or female. For most Americans, we're beyond that. Most of us work with females. I had female superiors in the Navy. I have African American bosses. In the corporate world. That hasn't. We don't look at it that way. Grown-ups don't look. Is he black? He's white? Is he girl? Most grown-up Americans don't think that way. We want the best person for the job. People voted for the guy who they thought would be best for the job, to get this $20 trillion debt under control and to protect us from terrorism. That's the two most important things we need. Everybody knew Bill Clinton was a womanizer. I mean, Bill Clinton's character was horrible, but he got reelected because he got the job done. I'm a Republican, but I got to admit, he got the job done. The Republican Congress gave him a balanced budget. They're the ones that balanced it, but he signed it. So he was successful. Even though his character sucked, he was a successful president. So most mature, grown-up people can look beyond a person's flaws because they know we're all full of flaws. So what we're looking at is who's going to get the job done. And we got a guy now who's a complete outsider. He don't owe any big donors nothing. They didn't give him nothing. He's not beholden to the big banks like Hillary would have been. He's not beholden to Wall Street like Hillary would have been. Hillary got 100% of the defense contractors because she's a war hawk. She loves war. I'm telling you. Trump is anti-war. If you look at what he said in the past, and even in the debates, he got booed on a Republican debate because he said Bush made a mess out of the Middle East, and then Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama made it worse. But this guy's not a hawk. If anything, he's more liberal than Hillary on a lot of issues. So the bottom line is Trump won because American people want change, and not the change that President Obama brought us. That's it. So now it's time to work together and get things done. And stop acting like little babies crying in the street. It's over. The game's over. Okay? There's nothing you can do about it. All you're whining and screaming out there ain't gonna do nothing. So God bless America, and no matter who's president, whether it's a Democrat, whether it's a Republican, whether it's an independent, we are still the greatest country in the world that's ever existed.